What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to give you guys a very quick, short update about the market. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Webull link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 in total. And deposit $2,000 or more, you're guaranteed 40. The offer ends in just 6 days. Anyways, for the market, I just wanted to say that right now we're seeing a very interesting phase. The market is technically range bound because as we tend to hit this 578 to 576 zone, we tend to get bought back up. And whenever we hit this 585 area, we do tend to get rejected. So it's kind of like what our range is looking like so far. But there is still that risk of downside that could be coming later on for the markets, possibly after the election, because of the fact that we are consistently getting rejected off these resistance levels. And then at the same time, we have the rising wedge theory about that's the fact that SPY has this rising wedge, and we're consistently just once again breaking through that and failing to really get that hold. So this could suggest that there's a retest of this and a rejection coming, and we have a lot of gaps to fill below. So a lot of these gaps could end up getting filled as well in the daily. So what is my view of the market? I'm going to talk more about this in just a couple of minutes. Let's first talk about what I see going on, at least for the broader markets, as we have a very important week ahead of us that's going to dictate price action. So the first thing that's very important is going to be our economic data. So for next week on Monday, it's very minor. We just have some manufacturing numbers, nothing too serious. For Tuesday, we have very important jobs numbers at 10 o'clock a.m. So Tuesdays when we have the JOLTS job report, look for some high volatility on Tuesday. For Wednesday, we have some GDP numbers, which are going to be very important. The GDP growth rate is going to give us more insights on how the economy is looking. And then for Thursday, we have the PCE data report coming out. PCE is going to be very pivotal for the way the market ends up moving because it's going to give us more insights on what's happening with the Fed's policies. And then Friday, finally, is going to give us more insights on the governmental data about the unemployment rate. So Tuesday through Friday, we have so much data coming out. The market's going to be reacting to all of this. This could cause some pumps and dumps and all kinds of pieces of volatility. So please be very careful when it comes to data releases for next week. Now, we also have something else that's very important simultaneously, okay? Monday is going to be very minor. We just have Ford announcing earnings, nothing too crazy. But then for Tuesday, we have a few more, such as like SoFi, PayPal, and then AMD and Alphabet. So Tuesday becomes more important. That's when we have big tech starting their earnings. We have Google announcing their earnings. And then for Wednesday, we have after the market closes, Microsoft, Meta, Coinbase, Robinhood, a bunch of them. We have more big tech earnings on Wednesday. For Thursday, we have Uber, Peloton, and a few more. And then after the market closes, we have Amazon, Apple, and Intel. So for earnings, Tuesday through Thursday are going to be huge for earnings. It's going to have a big effect on the markets, either causing the market to dump or pump, or have a mix of each of those. And then we're going to also be looking to see what happens with the reactions to all these earnings, especially for tech. So expect a lot of volatility for the QQQ going into next week for the NASDAQ and then many other sectors out there. So be ready, guys. We're going to see some wild price action. There's going to be a lot of crazy stuff for next week. Right now, the market is close to greed. Excuse me, we're close to greed. We're going to be watching to see if we become extremely greedy or if we stay more neutral. Right now, the momentum is just at greed. We're still holding above our key moving averages, so it's not too bad. Looking at the put and call option ratio right now, fear is making up the majority of sentiment because we're seeing a lot more puts that are being bought. So there's a lot more shorts piling in. And besides that, the VIX is doing a good job at holding up. We still remain kind of neutral. So we'll see how things end up going. Anyways, so that is pretty much it, at least for my analysis of the week. Do not forget, okay, that between Tuesday and Friday, there's big data coming out, and then earnings become very serious during that same period, mainly Tuesday to Thursday. So expect crazy volatility next week. What do I see for the charts? Honestly, guys, SPY is showing some signs that it's slowing down, but I'm not officially convinced that this is done with because we haven't lost our key support yet near the lows right over here at 574. So we haven't lost that key support quite yet. If we lose that, then I will turn a lot more bearish. But for now, we haven't done that. We're still maintaining this wedge. I also want to call out we have two main supports. So the first support is right here around this 579 area. Then we have 577 as our next support at our 20 EMA, followed by 574 as the next support below that. For resistance, we have 580, and then above that, we have 582. We are making lower highs right now. It's not the best of signs. And one thing I was mentioning about SPY is the fact that we still have a lot of gaps to fill. So, for instance, we have this gap at the 560s. There's also another one all the way down here in the 530s. So I'm not saying that one has to get filled, but the main ones I'm looking at are this one and this one, the one in the 558 area and then the 560s. Are we about to get a big sell-off? First off, we need to lose the daily 20 EMA for confirmation. We have not lost 577 or 574 yet. If we lose those supports, I will be expecting us to test our 50 EMA around 568 to fill this first gap. There's no sign of that yet, so we have to wait and see if we truly get that rejection. So we're waiting for confirmation. There's a lot of theories out there that the market's going to get a bigger sell-off once the election is done with, and what's holding the market up is the election. Yeah, that sounds very valid and very possible, but we're waiting for that confirmation for us to truly get that dip. Could the confirmation come because of big tech earnings being a flop, or will big tech earnings be mixed? That's kind of like what my view is right now. They might be kind of mixed. Some stocks like Tesla had good earnings, so we shouldn't rule out the possibility that some of these big tech stocks may not be too great, but others may do relatively well. So we'll see. My gut tells me there's going to be a lot of range bound price action, and then we'll see how things end up going, at least moving forward. For ES, okay, we are showing some weakness, but we haven't officially lost 58.31, and also this low right here at 5800. If 5800 fails us, I expect us to dip all the way down to about 57.33, and if that fails us, we come down to fill this gap towards 56.40. As of right now, we're still holding up, so we'll have to give this the time it needs. So be very, very patient nonetheless. I also want to mention to everyone that with the way things are developing, we need to give the market as much time as possible to really show what it needs to do. We do look a little bit more bearish. There is a risk of us coming back down to 58.34. We could dip a little bit lower, especially as we had the rising wedge, which is once again showing weakness. But I'm not necessarily convinced yet until we see the big tech earnings. So keep that in mind when it comes to the way the market's moving. If we lose 58.31, we're looking for 57.33 is our next. Sorry, we have 50. Yeah, 57.33 would be our next target. Of 5800 flat ends up breaking. So there's 58.31, 5800, and 57.33. We'll see how things end up going. For Nvda, we're rejecting right now off this resistance. There's no sign of Nvidia rejecting because we're still riding our key EMAs up. So if you look at the 4-hour time frame, we're still holding up above our 20 EMA. If we lose 140.76, we're looking for a dip back down towards 138. Has not lost support yet, so we're still holding up. So give this a little bit more time. For Bitcoin, we're trying to rebound. We're looking for an attempt to get up to this imbalance towards 67,600. We'll see if we get a rejection there and start dipping or not. There is a little bit of weakness building on the charts. Look for a little bit more upside early next week, and we'll see if we get that rejection. So give it some more time. As far as Tesla goes, we remain more bullish, but there might be a little bit of a dip coming. I wouldn't be surprised if we retest 265 to 262 for a little bit of a dip, and then we could be looking to see if we get a bounce after that. Nonetheless, Tesla is still bullish. Even if we do see a small little dip, it still looks very, very bullish as we're holding support nicely. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders on the larger time frames. So if we do break 270, we're bullish. We're looking for basically 278 as our next potential target. If we don't break 270 quite yet, we could dip first before we get that bounce. The reason I say that is because 270 is historically a tough resistance. So the odds do favor a little bit of a dip first for Monday before we attempt to get a bounce later on. For a few more, we have, let me just double check this. NQ. So the 4-hour is showing a little bit of a dip towards 20,400. That's coming early next week. I think we start off with a small dip to about 20,400, if not a little bit lower to 20,300. And then we'll see if we get a bounce or not, depending on the big tech earnings. That's going to have a big effect on NQ and also the QQQ. We could be dipping to 492 as well on our 50 EMA test. So we could be looking for 492, if not the 488 area. And we'll see if we get a bounce on the QQQ or not. So give this the time it needs. For Aapl, we've been attempting to bounce here. This could downtrend just a little bit more to retest 228 to 229, and we'll see if we get a bounce or not after that. But look for a little bit more downside towards 230 or below before this attempts to make a move back up. So give this the time it needs, and we'll see how things end up progressing. As far as the IWM Russell 2000 goes, we're looking for 217.98. We will see if we get a bounce or not off of that, so give this even more time. This is looking a little bit more bearish for the time being. I do think that if we lose 217.9, we're looking for basically 216.5 as our next target. Could start off with a small dip early next week, but then it all depends on earnings and the data. So give that even more time. For Amazon, we still look more bullish. As long as we don't lose 188, this looks like it could try to bounce and continue to push for 190. So I might see some upside because we have Amazon's earnings coming up soon. So I expect a lot of consolidation and maybe a little bit of upside later approaching earnings. And we'll see what happens after earnings. Meta is looking a little bit weaker than Amazon as we're struggling to break above 576. So this opens the door for the gap fill back down for 568 early next week. For Microsoft, we're just consolidating, might dip as well towards 426 before we attempt to bounce. And Google has the same thing going on. We're just We're attempting to push higher, but we'll have to see if we break this resistance at 168. So my view of the market is the same. We're very mixed. The market might see a little dip early next week. Then we'll see what happens after that. Do not forget, we have big data coming out between Tuesday and Friday. And then for earnings, it's going to be very significant between Tuesday and Thursday. So keep that in mind. I'm not really Nostradamus. I'm not some kind of like fortune teller. I don't know what the future holds, guys. Okay. I don't know what earnings will give us for sure. That's why I have to be very unbiased about how I go about things. For now, we are anticipating a small dip in the markets, but then we'll see if we get bought back up or not. And then for a bigger correction, it could be coming after the election. So we'll see about that, whether or not this is the start. So whether or not this is the start depends on earnings. What kind of reaction we get? Are we about to start a big correction because of earnings, or are we about to see something different? We'll have to wait and see. Because Tesla did so well in earnings, it makes me suspect it might be kind of mixed with some doing well, some not doing as well. So that's the most likely case in my personal opinion. And then we'll see what happens after that. So with that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys have an absolutely spectacular rest of your day. I'll be back with another video update in just less than 24 hours. I'll try to upload another video for Saturday to talk about the bigger correction that could be coming. So look out for that video. Until then, I hope you guys have an absolutely spectacular rest of your day. I'll be back with another video very soon, and peace out.